speak about ecological civilization, how do we build it? Who do you think should look into this? Is it up for international organizations, or do you think international organizations should be changed, reformed, and we need to create some new international organization? What's your solution to this? How to build it?
The international organization, Maria, that we have today were built for a different purpose. The international organizations like the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, and all these organizations were built between First and Second World War, like the League of Nations that became the United Nations afterwards. The other ones were built around 1945, 1946, until 48, 49. They are the result, they are the fruits, the outcome of the Second World War. It was established in a way to maintain the structure of power of those countries who won the war. Those are the countries that have veto power in the Security Council. This was the theory of Henry Kissinger of balance of power, to arm everyone around the world to keep this thing. The youth did not live the First and Second World War. That doesn't mean not to recognize the existence of it, because maybe your grandparents or great-grandparents suffered from the war. But it's not just to build a future for the youth based on the values of violence, war, destruction. This has to change radically. Second point, the international organizations today are totally incapable of managing our global commons, what is common to all of us, because countries still in the middle of the UN defend their own self-interest. The US defend their own self-interest, Russia, China, and so on. Even my country, when it goes there, try to defend its own self-interest. So if tomorrow there is some regulation against copper, and we are one of the largest copper producers in the world, we're going to go there and claim protection. We're going to claim for us. We are not thinking about the whole world. So whenever we get together to think about a new vision for humanity, we don't get there. We have a lot of attributes of that vision. We have a lot of good meetings, but in essence, we are too late. We are very, very late in front of the challenges. I am proposing a radical change of the United Nations in which civil society needs to be inside the United Nations. And I am proposing that one of the councils of the UN, because the UN works in council, the Trusteeship Council, which was built in relationship to colonies. You know, there were colonies, there still are some, but colony is not an issue today. We should call it the Citizen Council. Even if the citizens of the world do not have vote at the UN, at least they should have voice, official voice, not voice in meetings on the sideline. No, central to the UN is civil society. And people say, Alfredo, well, how do we do it? Well, we have done it. It has been done with the indigenous people. When we created this central organization for indigenous people, everyone told me, no, impossible, not possible. They will fight. How do you represent the indigenous peoples of Europe and Asia and Latin America and Europe and Africa? Well, they did, and they function very well, and it's fantastic. This is part of civil society that is already inside the UN. You know, so it's not an experiment. But listen to this. We cannot enter the UN with the same consciousness of the UN today, because we'll do more of the same. We need to start waking up to a new level of consciousness, empowering citizens around the world. And to do that, we need to do it inner empowerment as well as outer empowerment. It's not about money, it's about being, you know, an interbeing. It's not just about having, it's about wisdom, it's about a new reality. So when the citizens of the world enter the UN, they should enter with a different narrative, with a different social grammar, with a different content, with a different vision. Otherwise, this is not going to work. Second, I believe that the United Nations Environmental Program should be a world environmental organization. completely separated from the UN, with tremendous power, with tremendous budget, because of this ecological civilization. This is not just a relationship of empathy with nature. Many people think, oh, it's cute, it's nice, he speaks very well, oh, nice. But then they close the meeting and nothing is done. No, we need a new World Environmental Organization. We need to change the World Bank. The World Bank needs to look for a very different way to preserve this planet, and so on and so forth. And Werner, like myself, have said this so many times, because sometimes one needs to say it 20 times, 50 times, million times. But million one maybe will be the moment when we, you, Maria, Shailen, and many others need to be prepared to take the baton. I am 77 years of age this year. I am giving the baton to the youth. I go around the world and speak in many, many countries, in many, many places, saying, here is the baton. But don't take the baton and not know what you're going to do. If they call you and say, oh, yes, I have a slogans, I have no experience, I have no knowledge, then you are not going to govern anything. You will be a pawn in this big game, and you will be lost. So, yes, this is the moment to bring a new international system to govern the global commons. And as I said 3 times today, it's impossible to create a structure of governance without a planetary democracy. This needs to be constructed, this planetary democracy. We cannot construct a planetary democracy where we only vote once a year, once every 5 years. We need to have a participatory and deliberative democracy. We need to say to the UN, no, this is not just, this is not correct, And today technology permits that. It's not like when I was young, there were no computers, There was nothing to say, well, who is going to vote? Today, there are many organizations in the world who express themselves very clearly, like Avaz and many others. So why not to create, with the super guru, a way in which everyone could push a button and say yes or nay to what's happening in COP meetings, in UN meetings, and so on and so forth. This is the time to bring human values. This is the time to bring spirituality. This is the time to speak with the voice of humanity, not the voice of money, not the voice of corporations. We need to stand up to the challenge, isn't it? We just not need just to talk, So I can say in my lifetime that I'm very happy with myself because I studied a lot and I keep studying. I have all my desk here full of papers, writing prefaces, writing books, and so on, to really keep myself at the frontier, not sitting there protected, claiming you have rights, claiming you have privileges, when you have not done anything to have those privileges. And I tell you, when I say human values, that means you have to change your life, because values are not words. Values are a state of being. Love, you need to love. You understand the value of love when you love, not when you express the word love. Compassion, caring, sharing, cooperation, and so on and so forth. But that is a challenge that has an individual part, me, getting my inner self developed to self-realize those values, but also has an impact in the collective. Collective consciousness has been disregarded by many spiritual groups as something outside the domain. You do your little thing, you keep praying, you keep repeating mantras and so on, and everything will be fine. No, it will not be fine. We need to have the spirituality of the collective. And the most difficult values to self-realize are the collective values, because it implies that I need to take Maria into account. I need to take Mayra into account. I need to take Shailen into account. I need to take my cow, my dog, my horse, I live in a farm, into account. That's not easy, but it is possible. And that's where we need to go. So we stop, from these big speeches and get into action, but action that has empowerment, inner empowerment.
Yeah.